You're tuned into SEC Sunday Night, part of the Chief Sports Network.
This is SEC Sunday Night on the Chief Sports Network.
SEC Sunday Night live on the Chief Sports Network, 8 p.m. every week. And I'll remind you, we're presented by Hewitt-Damaduras Law. Every week here at 8 p.m., Hewitt-Damaduras is here for you in your time of need. They are really great guys, good friends of mine, to be honest with you. And I can attest to the fact that they want to be a part of your life and not just somebody that you're paying to do a job. They care about the relationship. So if you need personal injury attorneys or you have a fall, car accident, dog bite, you name it, Hewitt-Damaduras, hdlawsc.com. They want to be personally involved with you. Go to the website, contact Brad and Dean. If you can't say Damaduras, neither can he. All right, so you just tell him I've sent you. We'll talk to him soon. That's it. SEC Sunday Night, presented by Hewitt-Damaduras Law. Craig, my boy, what's going on? This is the last show before we have actual football.
Oh, I thought I was getting fired.
What is going on? This is the last show before we have actual football to talk about. Next Sunday night, there will have been games already.
Farmageddon in Ireland.
Yeah.
Over under.
Well, that's why
Guinnesses.
That's why we need our friend. That's why we need our friend Andrew McCleary here with us tonight. And so we got a little early Tri-Fit guest line coming in. We'll talk about Tri-Fit in just a few minutes, but let's go ahead and bring Andrew in here because
hang on. Where's the tortillas? I'm throwing.
We do have. Oh, I forgot my bag of tortillas. What's going on? We do have some Big 12. We do have some Big 12 to discuss because next week we will be talking about football games, but there's no real SEC matchups next week, so no teams in action. Week 0, and so we're going to get one from across the pond for the Big 12. So we'll get into that in just a minute. But first of all, what's going on? How are you? Looks like you're relaxing.
I am relaxing. Just been spending some time out here at the beach. Kids start school soon, so one last little relaxing beach getaway before school starts, kids' activity starts. More importantly, ball kicks off in 6 days. Across the pond, and Craig, it's not Farmageddon this year; it's Farm-O-Geddon as a nod to the folks across the pond there.
Well done.
I can't. It's not mine. I can't. I don't want to take credit for it. I've heard it a few times.
No, get this guy a coffee cup, Brett.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brett, I need Brett to be listening to me. I'm just asking for a simple coffee mug. I feel like he could spare one for me.
Definitely could. Question: What does a tortilla pair well with a Guinness, or what pairs best with a tortilla?
Well, depends on your flavor. If you want something savory, certainly everybody knows a taco is delicious. You can put any sort of assorted meats in there. But let me tell you, you fry up a flour tortilla and dunk it in some cinnamon sugar and serve it with a little honey. We call that a sopapilla, my friend. So the tortilla, very versatile piece of bread, excellent aerodynamic device to use at a football game, despite the Big 12's recent rule change. You will see plenty of tortillas still flying in Lubbock this year. The athletic director is already on the record saying it will not change. So tortillas are not going anywhere.
Spoken like a man who's thrown a tortilla a time or two in his day.
Once upon a time, I've thrown a tortilla. Can tell you where, can't tell you when, can't tell you how many times, but it might have happened before.
Okay. Obviously, this is an SEC show, but over the course of we'll call it fall camp preseason, we've taken the liberty of inviting some of our friends in who cover other conferences around the country just to see who is going to be, I'll say it, a challenger to SEC teams in the college football playoff. Like, is that we're looking around to kind of see who it is that's going to be included in the party that ultimately will likely end in a SEC celebration. So the first thing we need to do here tonight is talk about news that matters, our first segment each and every week. So we're just going to have you play along with us as we talk about a few things that have happened, and then we're going to turn that conversation to the Big 12 to kind of see who you think it is. And I really do, in all seriousness, love and respect your perspective and opinion when we're looking at the entire conference to see who it is that's going to be coming out of there. And to be fair, look at Arizona State last year in that game with Texas. It got real tight there for a minute, so we never know what's going to happen.
It's because
Craig, you're shaking your head. All right, whatever. Can we start? Can I start with Connor Stallion so we can get him the heck out of the way?
By all means, Michigan got him out of the way.
Can we start there? First of all, Michigan had to pay a little bit of money for their championship, so that's all well and good. I still think, it's up for debate whether they paid as much as Ohio State did last year. And so whatever, it was worth the money, I suppose, because you still got the trophy. We're not vacating anything. So
That's right.
When we talk about Connor Stallions, Craig, since you are our resident Michigan resident.
Yep.
Let's say it that way. I almost said resident Michigan man, and then I rolled that back because I knew that at me. All right.
That term is under construction now, by the way. it meant one thing up until about 4 days ago, and now
did it mean one thing until 4 days ago, or did we just prove that it didn't mean that until 4 days ago? All right, take us where we need to go here in terms of what do we need to know about Connor Stallions, and can we close the book on this guy and just move on with football?
I think so. You've got Stallions has that 8-year show cause, so he will not be anywhere with college football for a while. Jim Harbaugh gets 10 years, and what I think the biggest takeaway here is that national championship was always clouded, but to me, I think what happens now is that national championship gets forgotten. And when we talk about greatest teams, we talk about, top national champions. I just think it's removed. So we're not vacating anything. We're not, it happened. We agree. They beat Alabama in the Rose Bowl. I know I covered it. I had that story going one way, and then J.J. McCarthy hits a miracle pass to totally make me redo the entire story. So they won the national championship. But what it does too, and I think this is the bigger rip. Michigan had an air about them. They were different. The SEC were cheaters. They had the bags of money. They did whatever they did. Michigan was above the fray. Harbaugh always put himself as above that fray. And what I think this does is it tarnishes that Michigan brand. We like to poke at the Michigan man and everything. And with it, like I said, the Michigan fans, I've heard them. I see them in my tweets. I have them in my family. They're still all behind Jim Harbaugh. They're still behind the big block M. But I think for the rest of college football, it's like,
Andrew, as an outside perspective to neither the Big Ten nor the SEC, does this diminish the Big Ten's claim as a conference for superiority over the SEC based on the fact they've won the last 2 national championships?
I don't think it diminishes it in any way. I mean, it helps to know, unequivocally, it helps to know the other team's signals. It does. I mean, anyone who denies
I can argue.
Anyone
2022 Orange Bowl.
I understand.
Connor said he had all Georgia signals.
I get it. Okay. It's an advantage. It doesn't mean you're going to win a game. It's still an advantage though. Okay.
It is.
But from an outsider's perspective, man, like, it just goes to show anyone, if you truly thought there was a clean program, like an above the board program that was going to win it the right way, like, it just doesn't exist in college football. It just doesn't. And if you believe that, if you believe your team is winning the right way, you haven't won at a high enough level in college football. It's just the reality. So I think a lot of the a lot of the outside view of it is just like, this is a dumb story. No one really cares. This is a Big Ten story that everyone is following because the national championship was eventually won by the team who was proven to be cheating in a very different way. But I think most of the college football landscape is just tired of it. Like, I think to Craig's point here, the story is going to get forgotten. I don't think their national title will get forgotten, but this is a non-story. It's almost to your attitude, Rob. We can move on from it finally and
Thank
get
goodness.
back to just what's happening on the field.
No doubt. All right. So in terms of what is happening on the field, we're gearing up, like we just said. Let's start in the Big 12 with Texas Tech, because I know that's where you would like to start. Okay. The story is obviously there's a lot of money flowing into that program, and money at this point in the college football landscape does equate to talent. Do we have enough data to say that it equates to winning? I don't know about that, but it does equate to talent. What are the expectations for Texas Tech and other programs that seem to have a money tree now sprouting up across the Big 12?
When Commissioner Yormark took over the Big 12, his number one goal was to get a new TV deal in place before the then Pac-12 turned into what it is now. He successfully did that. I think he would tell just about anybody his next biggest goal is to establish a flagship program in the conference. Every conference needs a leading team, a defined target annually that other teams are punching up to. It also allows casual fan bases to immediately recognize the strength of a conference. Texas Tech has entered into the conversation in a way that they just never have before. For as long as this program has existed, because Texas was around, the goal was, let's have 8-9 win season. Maybe we can challenge for something a little bit more. But the expectations were never a Big 12 championship, not amongst the fan base. And certainly the administration of yesteryear never had actions to justify that. But now Cody Campbell, the Matador Club, Kirby Holcutt, Joey McGuire, the whole organization is in step. And they have been on the record repeatedly this offseason that a Big 12 championship is the expectation this year. They have brought in significant talent, predominantly in the trenches, and that is the biggest roster upgrade the team has made. You have elite edge players. David Bailey from Stanford is already a guy grabbing a lot of headlines in terms of 2026 draft status. So this team's expectations going into this season is something they just simply have never achieved. They haven't won an outright conference championship since 1956. So they are aware of it, but they are not backing away from the expectations that all of this money and talent have brought to Lubbock.
I have a question on that. Like, one of the things that you spoke of, you talked about alignment. McGuire, Holcutt, and then I'm sorry, Campbell.
And don't forget Blanchard is GM. His GM turned down Notre Dame again this offseason to stay in Lubbock. So yes, we're talking all layers across the organization in alignment.
Where does that alignment come from? So I'm going to use the Texas analogy because I have to, and I'm not going to talk about Arch. But I think CDC has done a really good job of that in Austin, right, with Sarkisian and the boosters. I think we've heard about that for a long time. That was the biggest thing holding the Longhorns back. Mm-hmm. What happens in 2024, 2025, where all of a sudden we have this alignment? McGuire's now in year 3 of this. So, like, what changes? You know, what brought about this idea?
Well, Campbell, you know, here's a former Texas Tech player who has built, fixed, and sold multiple businesses now. Over $10 billion in total profit he's made off of those. Just an insane amount of money. And they identified with the House ruling that was going to get made after the 2024 season that there was going to be a really small window in which essentially they could overload some contracts here and bring in players. And so this was a plan that started back in the 2024 season. In the SEC country, I know you guys weren't paying attention to Texas Tech because who would? until they got ranked in the AP poll for the preseason going into 2025, they had not made a top 25 appearance since 2018. So rightfully, no one was paying attention to Texas Tech. Last year, Texas Tech lost to Colorado, and there was a ex-user who tweeted at Campbell to say, go buy us an offensive line, because the offensive line was a big struggle last year for the Red Raiders. And Campbell's response simply was, I will. To the point now they've taken that slogan and printed it on T-shirts that the Matador Club sells out. And he did. But this was a plan well before the season started. It helps that McGuire has set new expectations and new beliefs in the building. Kirby Holcutt has proven he is willing to do what is necessary to improve his entire athletic program. I mean, this is a we'll call it an organization, for lack of a better term, on the record of having $55 million in NIL deals for the 2025 academic year. So they are not shying away from this. So it is a combination of Holcutt's vision, Campbell's vision and resources, and then McGuire instilling the belief in everybody else. And this has been a program slowly building to this moment. And they are very aware of what the moment means going into 2025.
All right, let me tie us back together then, because I have a question for both of you actually. If we look at this model and the way that that Texas Tech is building with the Matador Club and what Cody Campbell has been able to do, not everybody's got $10 billion. I'm not trying to make that comparison, but if we look at from a historical standpoint and an on the rise standpoint, who do we think is the Texas Tech of the SEC right now?
Well, I mean, when you invite Texas into the SEC, they're just going to tell you they're better than everybody else, and they know it. They continue to print money. They will continue to print money. And while Sark likes to downplay a little bit the money factor, you know, you can't host official visits with Lambos out front and tell everybody, oh, we're culture guys here before the money. Like, it's, you know,
all gas, no brakes, baby.
Yeah, we're sending mixed signals here. To be honest with you, I don't know if there's, from my perspective, I don't know if there's an SEC program who is trying to break the mold. I haven't seen it yet. You know, Tech is trying that. Kansas just recently received a $300 million donation from David Booth, who has already done a tremendous amount of giving to the Kansas program. So I don't know if there's an SEC program trying to break the mold like we are seeing with some of the Big 12 programs.
I would agree with Andrew. We have to go outside the SEC. It's become expected that if you're going to compete within the SEC, you are going to be offering something that is going to entice folks. You need climbers like what we have at Texas Tech, what we have at Kansas. And this is my biggest complaint and my biggest argument against the House settlement. The people complaining loudest against the House settlement are the people who don't like the fact that Texas Tech all of a sudden can come into Georgia and steal the number one recruit. I'm not complaining about that, even as a Georgia writer. I think it makes college football better. It levels out the playing field. We've seen this with recruiting the last few years with the 5 stars. It's no longer Georgia and Alabama stacking class after class. Now we have 8 or 9 teams within the SEC with at least 1 to 2 5 stars. We looked at Missouri a couple of years ago, was able to keep a guy like Luther Burden. Luther Burden's not thinking about Missouri, you know, a few years ago. So to me, this is a beautiful thing. I love what we're seeing in Kansas. I love what we're seeing in Texas Tech. And let's be honest, the House settlement was nice in name and it was a good theory. It ain't going to have any teeth. And this is going to be the new wave of college football. It is good for college football.
All right, Andrew, we got about 5 more minutes here. Let's dive into a brief overview. Who do you see in terms of your predictions covering the whole conference? If you have to pin it right now, and give us maybe 2 teams that you think are the top 2, and maybe a challenger to them to make the college football playoff coming out of the Big 12.
So outside of Texas Tech, I mean, the expectations are there. The talent is there. There's really no more to be said about them. Baylor has an excellent opportunity to crash the Big 12 party, and really crash is not a great term. They finished the year real hot last year. Sawyer Robertson's back for them. We're going to find out in a hurry about about Baylor, because they play Auburn in week 1. And then
we're going to find out about both. You're right.
You might find something about Brother Hugh as well.
true anxiety bowl for both fan bases there. But I do think Baylor is going to make a lot of noise this year. I really like Utah to bounce back in a big way. Utah has one of the best offensive lines in all of college football. They might have the single best offensive lineman prospect at the tackle position. If they get anything beyond like a JV high school quarterback to play offense for them, their defense is still going to be stout. They're going to bounce back in a big way this year. I think Kyle Whittingham finds a way to get them back to where their expectations are and rides off into the sunset after about a 10-win season for the Utes this year. So those would be my two teams outside of Texas Tech. Baylor and Utah will be right in the thick of it for the Big 12 and to crash the playoff party and to challenge and to beat an SEC team this year.
So cold water all over our week 0 matchup because we're not feeling the love for either Kansas State or Iowa State. Isn't that the matchup?
It is the matchup. I think Iowa State, they have proven with better teams that they will fall short of these types of expectations. They'll still be a good team. Kansas State, you can pencil them in for at least 8 wins. It's automatic. I think both teams are lacking just a little bit in terms of overall depth and talent that will be a factor down the stretch of the season.
My question to you, my friend. Rich Rodriguez, Scott Frost return. Which hire looks really smart in 2 years, and which was like, what the hell are we doing?
Rich Rod, easily. Rich Rod's been coaching in college, and he's been successful. So he's been doing the new game. Scott Frost has been out of coaching since Nebraska. He has had uninspiring coaching staff hires to his staff down in Orlando. I think as much as the UCF fan base wants this to work, and he's happy to be back, I don't see a world where this really works out for UCF. But I do think West Virginia can get good and get good in a hurry if Rich Rod can find his quarterback and they get that hyper-aggressive rushing attack going.
What about Willie Fritz and Houston? Any love or hope that they can punch up?
Dude, you doubt Willie Fritz at your own peril.
Yeah, I agree.
You can doubt him at your own peril. Whatever if Connor Wegman stays healthy, Houston will absolutely be a bowl team at a minimum. When Willie builds a program, it is a little bit of a slow burn, and it's only year 2. You would be dumb to doubt him at any point. So if you sleep on a Willie Fritz team on any given week, whoever they've got on the schedule, they will jump up and bite you.
And that's what I want to tell our friends who are listening is why you need to subscribe, and you got to get Andrew's writing. Not only does do a fantastic job with Texas Tech, but he's got the breadth of the Big 12. He's got it all done. He's got all the predictions for all the conferences. He is one of the best in the business and one of our best friends. I really appreciate it, Andrew.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I think that although we are obviously SEC homers and we're going to cover the SEC till we die, we love to have the full scope. We're college football fans, you know what I mean? And we want to have the full scope of what's going on. So at CFP, the number 4_us is how you're going to get to Andrew McCleary there on X. Yeah, he's tagged in all of our tweets here on SEC Sunday Nights. You'll be able to find him and get to his work. Last word on college football, how he's covering not only Texas Tech, but like Craig said, the whole conference of the Big 12. My friend, we appreciate you being here with us, and we look forward to some fun. Last year, I said the Big 12 was the most fun league in the country, and we'll see if it lives up to the billing again in 2025.
I have no doubt it will. I have no doubt. Boys, always a pleasure. Continued success to both of y'all. Look forward to chatting with y'all this season.
Yep. Thanks a lot, man.
My friend.
Right there on the TriFit Performance guest line, that is Andrew McCleary. And when we come back from the break on the TriFit Performance guest line, we'll have David Soderquist to talk about the Florida Gators. We'll remind you that TriFit Physical Therapy and Performance in Lexington is owned by our good friend Mitch, and he's the lead physical therapist there. And let me just tell you that he actually really, really knows what he's doing. This is not where you're going to go in and then you're just going to be a number. This is going to be custom fit to you, whether you're an athlete, you're coming from an injury, you're old like Craig and your back is just hurting, like whatever you need to do to go and improve your performance in life, in your sport, in your hobbies is hands-on therapy. You have no insurance red tape. If you go in for your shoulder and while you're there, you say, you know what, my knee's really been bothering me. We can switch up. We don't have to get it approved. We can change and talk about it. They had a client drive over 100 miles just to be seen at TriFit and said it was worth every mile. So TriFit Physical Therapy and Performance is where recovery meets results. This is SEC Sunday Night. Thanks again to Andrew McCleary from Last Word on College Football. We'll be right back after this quick break.
When playing sports, you want a coach that will fight for you. At Hewitt Diamaduros Law Firm, we've got your back. Whether it's personal injury, insurance disputes, negligence, or wrongful death, our team delivers exceptional legal services that makes meaningful difference in the lives of the individuals and families we work for. Visit hdlawsc.com. hdlawsc.com. Hewitt Diamaduros, we're on your team.
Oh, man, the building is on fire.
Emergencies and accidents happen. When you're in the middle of a fire or water event, all you want is for things to return to normal as soon as possible. Resto Pros of the Midlands is with you, guiding you through the process and working with you to get your home or office back in working order. They'll answer your questions, discuss procedures, and can act as your advocate when it comes to processing your insurance claim. Resto Pros Midlands SC.com. Open 24/7 when you need them. Quality that is guaranteed.
At TriFit Physical Therapy and Performance, we believe true health and peak performance start with personalized care. Whether you're an athlete recovering from injury or just chasing your next personal best, we're here to guide your journey. With expert coaching, hands-on therapy, and transparent cash-based pricing, you get the care you need without the insurance red tape. One client drove 100 miles just to see us and said it was worth every mile. Contact us at trifitperformance.com or 803-353-5619. TriFit Physical Therapy and Performance, where recovery meets results.
Yo, what's up?
Baby, let's go!
The number one thing that we established last year is that we can go toe-to-toe with anybody. And I think that confidence, that belief, that swagger, kind of getting back to Florida football.
p.m. We are here with David Soderquist on the TriFit Performance guest line. Remember to go to trifitperformance.com if you need help with an injury, with performance in general. Maybe you're a runner. Maybe you just have knee problems. Whatever it is, your back's hurting. You want nutrition advice, call Mitch. Go to trifitperformance.com. All right, David, first and foremost, how are you? And welcome to SEC Sunday Night.
Yeah, I'm good, man. There's two more Saturdays before college football, and I'm so excited. I can't even really talk right now because I've been on so many shows, and the more shows I go on to, the more pumped I get about college football season. I'm going to the first game of the season. I know we're not really playing a tough opponent or anything, but just to be in the atmosphere and the tailgating and all that, man. I mean, you're really starting to feel college football. The air's getting a little bit colder up here in North Georgia where I live. I mean, you're just starting to feel the fall weather kind of starting to get a little bit more brisk, and you're starting to see we're past SEC media days. We're into the fall camp pressers. It's been kind of exciting here, so I've been pretty pumped.
Yeah, no doubt about it. As we get closer to being able to feel it, it just creates that level of excitement. Craig, as someone who writes for Georgia, I see that you are repping the Gator on your shirt there. How do we feel about diving into the happenings in Gainesville tonight, my friend?
Listen, I have my Florida Gators Club Lacrosse because I'm the resident lacro of the SEC. So, and I also want to show that I am an equal opportunity fan and supporter. We were doing the lane train last week. Don't worry, David. I will find some ways to poke because, that's what Georgia fans do. But I promise I may bark a little, but there's no bite.
That's fine. I may poke back a little bit too. So,
That's what we.
That's what it's all about, though, right?
That's what we like, right?
You're supposed to get. The thing is, people don't know how to laugh about it. They get mad. You're supposed to laugh, have a good time. It's like we're not in control of what happens anyway, right? So just laugh about it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, don't worry. Rob's the son one. I'm the one with more of a personality and a little more sense of humor. So we got to be careful.
Yeah.
Okay. The Gamecock over there.
Since you're throwing shots, let's get into it. Okay, let's start with 2024 to kind of inform where we're going in the conversation in 2025. Here's the thing. My biggest and boldest prediction going into 2024 is that Florida was going to fold after a tough start. We have a segment here that we run during the season called I Was Wrong, where we look at old takes that we had and picks that we made and call out ways that we made mistakes as analysts and show hosts, right?
Mm.
The biggest I was wrong of 2024 for me was the Florida Gators because I thought that they would quit. As I watched it live, I have said for a while that I believe that it was DJ Lagway coming in that galvanized the team, that there was some faith and hope in him as an athlete, as a leader, as a quarterback that caused them to kind of collectively come back together. And I still have my doubts about Billy Napier's ability to rally the troops. However, second edition of I Was Wrong on Florida for me, after watching Any Given Saturday on Netflix, I don't know if you've seen the series, but you get a prominent episode there and some other spots as well. And judging by what I was able to see, I've now changed that opinion to say it was Billy Napier that really got this team together and pushed them forward the rest of the season. And Lagway, as talented as he is and as good as he looked at times, mentally, the admissions that he made on the show showed that he was a true freshman, just like we thought he was. Okay, so what are your thoughts coming out of last year? What was it that really made that season into what it was, and what, if any, impact or lingering does it have in 2025?
Yeah, well, I think if you were to batch it up and say, like, I was wrong, I think you would say that about the whole Florida fan base, including me, because we thought that team had just given up and that coach was getting fired too. I mean, we even had ESPN alerts on our phone saying that the board of trustees had the money for his buyout, and then all of a sudden you go into the Texas game, you're getting blown out, Lagway's hurt, and then Scott Strickland comes on the screen and he's like, we're going to retain Billy Napier for another year, and then the fans were mad, but then come to turn around, obviously DJ Lagway gets the start. Graham Mertz, goes down with his ACL, whatever. And that team just transformed. Now, we've interviewed a lot of players on our show that, Austin Barber, Jake Slaughter, those kind of guys. And they, I can't remember what the quote or exact quote was or who it came from, but they did talk about, how the players got together in the locker room. They talked to Billy Napier. They said, hey, man, can we simplify this defense? It's too complicated. Whatever. And Billy Napier was like, okay, well, if something's not working here, we might as well try something new, right? So they went ahead, they simplified things, they let them play more defense. The defense makes a big turnaround. I think they only allowed less than 20 points in the last 5 games or so. I can't remember what the exact stat was, but it was a big turnaround. Like it was a defense we haven't seen before in a long time. I think a lot of that culture, and we're talking about like the culture, the player togetherness, especially in that SEC episode. Dan Mullen, when he was here, I mean, that culture was not great when he left. Like a lot of those players, I'm not going to say what they were doing, but they were complaining about like dried up bacon and the lunch thing that they have, I guess, in the cafeteria or whatever. And Billy Napier came in and fixed a lot of things, but he had a lot of work to do. There were still leftover Mullen players with the attitudes that you probably didn't want on the team. We saw what the Princely thing happened. He transferred. He tried to fight people after the game, the Ole Miss game. I mean, like we had some of those types of players in our locker room we needed to weed out and get out. And Billy Napier slowly but surely would give them chances. But at the end of the day, when they got to go, they got to go. You have the Trevor Etienne transfer to Georgia. I mean, everybody's all up in arms about that. And, I think part of that season was Lagway. Obviously, you see the freshman mistakes. He has thrown picks, but in a Brett Favre way, he's figured out to throw picks and win games, right? So, his deep ball accuracy is great. Probably needs to work a little bit more on the intermediate routes and such like that. But that's part of being a true freshman, right? You're coming in as a 5-star. You don't really know the scheme that well. You're just learning on the fly as you go. Lagway, he won a lot of games with his skill, and obviously the defense did a lot of work. I mean, You can even ask Craig. He's a Georgia fan. Carson Beck. I mean, he wasn't great. I will say that he probably wasn't great the whole year, but he threw 3 interceptions that game. Unfortunately, Lagway goes down. You don't know how that game's going to go if he stays in. Aiden Warner comes in. You don't really have a good backup quarterback. Game goes Georgia's way anyway. But you see the potential in DJ Lagway. You see the inexperience, though, as well. And I think that, having it this year, you're dealing with the offseason injuries. You hear about the hernia, the shoulder. I mean, it feels like every body part on Lagway is falling apart if you go to like an analyst or something like that. But, from everything I've heard, DJ's Lagway, he's fine. He should play week 1. I know that article came out and said he may not. I think he will anyway. But as far as like the team turnaround, that was mainly when the team turned around was probably around the Kentucky game. You saw the defense just playing different. I mean, you go to that Tennessee game, the defense played pretty well in that game, I think, too. Unfortunately, they found ways to lose that game. And I tell these people, I'm like, look, Billy Napier went 8-5, but what if Lagway doesn't go down against Georgia? What if they win that game against Tennessee? That's 10 games. You're in playoff, right? So that's what's getting a lot of Gator fans excited for this year, considering Austin Barber's coming back, Jake Slaughter, Tyreek Sack, Caleb Banks, everybody on your D-line and O-line is coming back. And you have Lagway. Can he stay healthy? I think that is the biggest thing, because if Lagway doesn't stay healthy, I think that you're going to a playoff potential team this year to probably maybe another 7-8 wins. It just depends on whether Lagway can stay healthy this season or not.
And I think it's that's the interesting part is if I had one criticism of the Netflix series, it was like doom and gloom. And then like all of a sudden it just kind of flips. There was no real like narrative, right? I felt like it was like Staples and Feinbaum were like fire Billy. And then it was like, oh, everything's fantastic and everything's great. So I think there was something more, but I think one of the interesting parts, and I think this is what is going to save both Strickland and I also think it's going to save Billy, is if we didn't have NIL, we didn't have the revenue sharing, that those boosters may have collected the money, and we may have saw a Jimbo Fisher style buyout. But now with the revenue sharing, now with NIL there, I think it's going to force everyone to be a little bit more patient. And this is where I got to give a shout out to my guy Rob, not Poke for once, who talks about like this could be a benefit where like we're going to have to preach patience. We're going to see that, but to your point, what does it look like? Look at the schedule, especially when we look at like Miami, Texas A&M, that slate from September to mid-October, right? And basically to the cocktail party, I won't call it anything else. If there's a slide again, can Billy survive another slide? Like, how are they going to be able to manage, especially with DJ having issues and injuries?
The stretch that you're talking about, Craig, there begins actually in week 3 with LSU. So you go LSU, Miami, bye week, Texas A&M. That's a tough stretch. How do you get out of that? Do you have to win 2? Do you have to win 3? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think we talked. I was on a show earlier, and I think the guy was an LSU guy, and we talked about like if LSU goes 9-3 and Florida goes 9-3, but LSU beats Florida, who would get in based on Florida's schedule because they have the number 1 difficult schedule in college football. And I was saying, well, if LSU won the head-to-head, right, and you go 9-3, but say hypothetically Florida beats Georgia and Texas, are you going to keep them out? Like because they beat 2 top 5 teams. Did LSU beat 2 top 5 teams? No, they won the head-to-head. So maybe you're thinking, okay, well, some people are going to think, well, maybe LSU is just that much better than Florida because since they beat 2 top 5 teams, maybe LSU could be better. But most of the time, I think they would side with Florida just based on the fact their schedule and who they beat. But that tough stretch right there between LSU, Miami, Texas A&M, I mean, if you go 3-4, it's fine. Nobody's going to be mad at that, right? You go 2-2, I think it depends on like what you do after that. Do you beat Georgia, Jacksonville? Do you beat Tennessee? You're probably going to beat Florida State. I mean, it depends on what you do afterwards. Now, you go 1-3 through there, the Florida fan base is not going to be happy. And they're going to be probably calling for his head. Now, if you finish the whole schedule and you go undefeated, nobody's going to care, right? It'll feel kind of like last year when you think Napier was just done and out. I mean, that first game against Miami was just a debacle, man. Like, probably one of the worst backfields in college football last year, and you could only score 17 points against that backfield. I think a lot of fans were, as the season went on and started to notice that, they got more and more upset and say, how did we only score 17 points against this team? I think now that Billy Napier has kind of turned it around and everybody's on the same page. The defense and the scheme's a little bit more simpler. You're hearing Gerald Chapman getting at the guys in practice even more. And, you hear a lot of great things, but of course, and you've got the talent there. Like, you have the talent there to get to the playoff. They got to stay healthy, but you got the talent there. I think now fans are just waiting for Billy Napier to sit here and put it together. That's the only thing. I think more of it is the in-game coaching. When you call your timeouts, when you call your certain plays, I think that's the thing that people are really looking out for with Coach Billy Napier. Now, when you have an elite quarterback that can throw the football really well, if he takes the next step, I mean, it's not going to really matter if he screws up a play or two, if Lagway can throw an 80-yard bomb down the field and get you 7 points right away, or he can drive you down the field in 2, 3 minutes or 5 minutes and get you a touchdown when you make a mistake or on special teams. And I think that's the big thing, is the coaching. I mean, we've had special teams blunders. We can't get enough guys on the field all the time. I mean, that's got to stop. We're in year 4. I think that's more of what the fans are looking for now. It's like, you got all the pieces. Now let's see the coaching part.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we talk about DJ Lagway a ton, right? He gets a lot of national attention, and he is probably the primary reason that Florida is ranked where they are in some of these preseason polls. Let me ask you this question, because it's still Billy Napier's offense. What are the expectations around Jaden Ball, and how big of a star does he need to be running the football for this Florida Gators team to be successful?
That's a tough one, because if you get good quarterback play at a Lagway, I don't think he has to be that much of a star. I think the passing game always complements the running game. I mean, if you're passing the ball well, you're going to run the football well. The offensive line coming back with Jake Slaughter, Austin Barber, Damian George, all those guys there, I think that's going to help and help kind of, alleviate some of the pressure maybe that was put on Lagway. Now, Lagway still got pressure last year. If you go back to the LSU game, I mean, they were putting a lot of pressure on Lagway. I mean, they brought a lot of blitzes. They knew that his leg wasn't healthy, so they were just trying to get after him every play. And he was able to pick them apart back in the backfield. And I think, with Lagway, if he takes the next step, I don't think Jaden Ball or Jacoby Jackson has to do that much. But I will say that if the game is riding on the line with Jaden Ball, I think Florida Gator fans are feeling pretty good about it, considering what he did as a true freshman coming in and not even playing the whole year. Wasn't even starting until Montrell Johnson got hurt. He rushed almost 600 yards. I think he averaged like 5.5 per carry. I mean, that's pretty good for a true freshman. I mean, this kid rushed for 14 yards a carry in high school. This was a kid Alabama was after. He was committed to Arkansas. Alabama was trying to recruit him too. Florida got into it and late in the mix. Not the fastest running back, but really shifty, really powerful. I think they said he squats like 525 now, which is insane for his size. He's 230. He can shift. I think Florida's got a weapon in Jaden Ball, and I think Jacoby Jackson complements him pretty well coming over there from JUCO. So I think, Jaden Ball can be that guy, but I think the offensive line really got to gel. Now, you got, like I said, you got Lagway, and he's passing the ball. He's chucking the ball all over the field. That's going to alleviate a lot of the pressure for Jaden Ball when he runs the football, because a lot of those, as we know, cornerbacks, safeties, all that, they think the pass is coming. They're going to go back in the backfield. It's going to eliminate a lot of room for Jaden Ball in those running lanes, and that's what Billy Napier likes to do in his RPO offense. He loves to run the football. And if he can signify the run game with the passing game, I think you're going to see a lot of big plays from Jaden Ball and Jacoby Jackson too.
That's awesome. Let's flip. We've been talking a lot about offense, so let's go to defense. And I feel like, oh man, because Vinny Sinceri got hired in this year as the co-defensive coordinator. I remember when he was playing back in Alabama. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but he's been quickly rising up. That's close to that Saban tree with Belichick for a while with New England. What have you heard from there? What is he bringing in? What does that relationship kind of look like? What is that edge that he brings in for Billy and the Gators?
You cut out. Which coach was it? You cut out a little bit. I could
hear. Vinny Sinceri.
Oh, Vinny Sinceri. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, former Alabama player. We obviously know what he did at the University of Alabama. Coming in, I mean, you lose somebody, you lose somebody, you bring him in, and so far so good. I've heard everything. I mean, like, we still got to see it on the field. Everybody's like, "Hey, show me," right? But so far so good with just the interviews that you hear from just the safety group, the cornerback group. They love Vinny Sinceri. They rant and rave about him. They had one kid on that said, "Man, he's really getting after it," and they don't really go too descriptive of Vinny Cincinnati. I think Vinny Cincinnati is one of those guys that likes to stay out of the limelight a little bit, likes to work a little bit. Caleb Banks is kind of the same way too. We've tried to interview him even through Florida Victorious. He doesn't do interviews. He just wants to work and play football. There's some sort of guys and assistants that are on that team that just do not do interviews. They're just workers. But from what I know, as far as that safety and cornerback room, I mean, he's pretty much got it under control, but like we just don't get a lot from Vinny Cincinnati. Now he's
Sure.
had a presser or two, but it's basically your coach speak answers and things like that. But I think he's a good addition. I mean, like from somebody that's played the sport that he has, and obviously he's coached and everything else. And I just think that the cornerback and safety room right now is very talented, but it's very thin as well. You can't afford a lot of injuries in that cornerback or safety room, or else you're putting out freshmen out there, or you're putting out somebody from the transfer portal or something like that. So Florida, luckily, in those positions, most of the time they don't go for blitz. I mean, you have corner blitzes and you have safety blitzes and all that, but most of the time they're in the backfield, right? They're not really taking hits unless somebody gets to the second level, then they're having to tackle them or something like that. That's more of a position that you're running with somebody, you're trying to block somebody. You get more your ACL tears or some, roll an ankle, something like that happens out of that position. But as far as I know, so far, so good. Kwani McLean's put on 20, 30 pounds. He's at 190 right now. He's been making plays in the practices and scrimmages as well. DeJon Johnson, he got in trouble earlier on in the year. A lot of that stuff got dismissed, so he's able to play again. So that adds to, your cornerback room. I wouldn't say it's thin, but it's just lacking experience right now. Kwani McLean's a 5-star player, yes, but he only played a couple games last year. Now, he did have that highlight pick 6 against Kentucky, but, obviously there's a lack of experience there. Now, I will say Devin Moore is a kid that has really came onto the scene. He's really made plays. The problem is he can't stay healthy, right? He needs to be able to put together if he puts together a full year, he stays healthy. I think Florida's backfield is in good position.
Anything out of camp that you're hearing that would be surprising to the general SEC fan who maybe isn't as dialed into things that are happening in Gainesville, and they're going to know names like DJ Lagway and Jaden Ball, but they may not know the ins and outs of who the rising stars are. You mentioned a couple of guys there on defense, and I think really that may be the bread and butter of where this conversation lands, but maybe some skill players on offense as well. We always hear with every school as we dial in and talk to different people, and Craig and I could speak to this with South Carolina and Georgia as well, if you're really focused on camp, you're going to get these snippets from a scrimmage or from this practice or whatever for guys that we're looking for. What is the overall, and I'll ask this two-part, who are the guys that are sticking out? And then what is the overall expectation rising up within the fan base for 2025?
Well, I think you'd have to go wide receiver room for offense just because of the skill level talent you got there. But one name that I think a lot of fans that obviously don't follow Florida that much is the name Aiden Mazzell. I think that is a kid. He made plays last year. He got a touchdown against Georgia last year. He got the backfield. He's a track running guy. His family ran track at Florida. He played a game against Mississippi State. He broke like 7 tackles, took it to the house. He's very fast, very long. He's been making plays in fall camp as well. I think that's a name that a lot of people that don't really know about. They've seen his name, but he doesn't really get talked about. It's just because the wide receiver room's so deep with Dallas Wilson, J. Michael Sturdivant. You got Eugene Wilson coming back. He's got a minor injury right now. You got Tank Hawkins, kid that runs a 4.25. We don't hear his name a lot. We're still trying to figure out who's returning kicks on special teams because the guy that is not playing there anymore. So, got a lot of speed. Like, you got to utilize it. And I think a guy in defense that a lot of people don't hear about is Jaden Woods. From everybody I've talked to, and we're talking about names like Nick Delatorre and Zach Goodall, all these guys that work at SI. I talked to all these guys, and Nick gets more access than anybody over at Florida, right? He can see any practice he wants to, whatever. Of course, he can't relay a lot of information because they try to keep that stuff in house. But I remember we were at a media day that we put out. We did an independent Gator media day, and he was one of the guys that we interviewed. And we were talking after that. He's like, dude, that Jaden Woods kid, he is really standing out. And from everybody that I've talked to, you hear his name so much. And at that edge position is really deep. So I think that's a guy that a lot of people that don't follow Florida look out for. And I think that, your Jordan Castells, you've heard his name a lot. I mean, like he's been a regular player at safety. He's made some plays, and then he's had like some plays where you just like scratch your head. He's improved a lot, I've heard. And then Jamari Lyons. I mean, this was a kid that Florida counted on last year. Goes down to injury. He was out for a year because he basically broke his ankle. And if you watch a presser, there's a current presser this week where he talked about, and I'm not trying to get too sick, but he talked about like breaking his ankle, coming through the skin, all that kind of stuff. And going into the locker room, he's been in a black non-contact jersey the whole time, still recovering. Today, or it was like yesterday or today, he has a blue jersey now. And he just busted out in tears because he's like, oh my God, I get to play this game of football. He was supposed to be a main contributor last year. And now, with Cam Jackson gone in that position, and it was supposed to be between him and Cam Jackson who was going to get the position. Now with him gone, he steps into the fold. You wonder about how his recovery is, but for right now, what I'm hearing and what he's doing in there, and it looks like he's fully recovered. He obviously has to get back up to game speed, but I think that's a guy also to look out for this year, just in case like he comes back to his normal original form. He's going to make a lot of noise too.
No doubt about it. So what does it take in 2025 to define success for Florida? We'll ask you this last one and we'll get you out of here.
I would say coaching, what we were talking about. I think Florida's got the players there. They would have to stay healthy. I will say at certain positions, they have to stay healthy. If they lose Lagway, that's obviously you lose your main starting quarterback. That hurts just about any team anyway. You lose Lagway, that could be a detriment to the whole schedule, is it? Unless somebody like like an Aiden Warner or your other backup you got from the portal, like he comes in and he does something. I think everybody has their eyes set on DJ.
Come on, David. You couldn't even say that with a straight face. Aiden Warner coming in and making plays. I mean, that was.
Hey, look, he can spin it. I've heard. All right.
It was tough. It was tough for you to get out. All right. We'll see. Big expectations for Florida in 2025. Mm-hmm. Are they a sneaky playoff team, or is the schedule too much for them to handle? We'll only that's why we play the game. That's why we play the game. David, thank you so much for being with us. Tell everybody where they can find you. High Top Sports on YouTube, online, on social, everything.
Yeah, you can find us on High Top Sports on YouTube. Just look for the Flying Pig. That's our logo there. There's some other, I guess, like High Top sort of sites, but they don't have like High Top Sports. So just look for the Flying Pig. That's us. You can also follow me at High Top Dave on X. I don't do a lot of other social media much. Like I post stuff on TikTok. I don't dance, so don't ask me to dance on TikTok, please. And then we have our website, www.hightopsport without the s.com, because High Top Sports was taken. You can follow our articles. You can purchase stuff like this from our shop. You can do all sorts of other stuff like that. So that's pretty much it for the social media part. Just follow us on YouTube. We go live every Wednesday, every Monday. Stephen Harris, former 2006 national championship. He's our co-host on Monday. You got me and Shelton on Wednesday. And then since the season's ramping up, we have content every single day. So we'll be ramping up here with the content too. So it's going to be nonstop here from now on.
No doubt about it. We appreciate you being with us.
We'll have you back for a cocktail or two later on the season.
Yeah, be careful. Don't let him bark at you. Thanks a lot, David.
Well, we're playing Long Island the first game, so I'll get some Long Island iced teas in.
Yep. You have fun. Go swimming with the sharks. We'll see you. Thanks a lot. We appreciate it. David Soderquist being here with us tonight. We're going to hit one more quick break here on SEC Sunday Night, and we'll be back for It Just Means More, Genius.
At TriFit Physical Therapy and Performance, we believe true health and peak performance start with personalized care. Whether you're an athlete, recovering from injury, or just chasing your next personal best, we're here to guide your journey. With expert coaching, hands-on therapy, and transparent cash-based pricing, you get the care you need without the insurance red tape. One client drove 100 miles just to see us and said it was worth every mile. Contact us at trifitperformance.com or 803-353-5619. TriFit Physical Therapy and Performance, where recovery meets results.
When playing sports, you want a coach that will fight for you. At Hewitt Diamaduros Law Firm, we've got your back. Whether it's personal injury, insurance disputes, negligence, or wrongful death, our team delivers exceptional legal services that makes meaningful difference in the lives of the individuals and families we work for. Visit hdlawsc.com. hdlawsc.com. Hewitt Diamaduros, we're on your team.
This is SEC, Sunday night, part of the Chief Sports Network.
Welcome back to SEC Sunday Night Live on the Chief Sports Network every single week. It is time for everyone's favorite segment. It just means more, genius. And of course, we have our favorite producer from another podcast, not our favorite producer in general, because of course we have Lucas and we have Phil and we have so many producers around here. But we have Casey with us to break it down. Casey, I know that you have some Knoxville flair in there. Breaking news: Joey Aguilar is officially the starter for Tennessee. So we have that coming out, and that's something for them to be pumped up about, right? They should be pretty excited.
Are you asking me? Because I don't even know who that is.
Of course I'm asking you. As our resident expert on all things, I'm naturally asking you. The message, if you don't know, the message boards will tell you.
Well, that's very true. I haven't checked them since it literally just broke. I think Makos said VolQuest had it, and I was hoping that my post tonight was from VolQuest, but it's not. It's from Vol Nation. But apparently he's making $1.2 million to play for the Vols this year. So it's kind of like that NFL and NBA or MLB. You're paying them too much, man. You got to play them, right? Otherwise, the boosters, the people that are paying them, aren't going to be very happy to spend $1.2 million for the guy to sit on the bench.
He's got the most experience because you've got a true freshman and you've got a guy that's thrown, I think, maybe 9 or 10 passes, if I can say it correctly.
Yeah. So you got a kid that came from App State that's got experience, and you got 2 more highly touted guys in terms of star ratings. So then what do you do with it? Apparently you start the App State kid because he's making 1.2.
To be fair, was he on App State when they beat Texas A&M 2 years ago?
He was.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I just guessed at that, Craig.
I think so. I think so.
I love it. All right. What do you got for us tonight, my friend?
This week I got 2 for you. I brought 2 again because my wife will make fun of me too, because anytime
actually like this case.
Go get some milk. Go get some milk, and I'll come back with 2 gallons of milk. Go get something. I always come back with 2. So I'm bringing you 2, even though Rob told me to only bring 1, and he yelled at me for bringing 2. But here we go. From the SEC rant, it gets a lot of run on our show, so it is well worth it. But I thought it's kind of apropos because we had Andrew McCleary on earlier for talking about Big 12, and it's kind of those 2 teams that came in from the Big 12 here a couple seasons ago, Oklahoma and Texas. This poster, UGA alum, it might be Craig's burner. We're not sure. When will Oklahoma fans learn that they are the new Arkansas? When will Texas fans learn that they are the new Tennessee? Will it take longer than 5 seasons for them to learn the truth? These programs will have to adjust their expectations now that they're in the SEC. Oklahoma will not be a program that competes for championships the way they did in the Big 12, that lowly conference. They will struggle to go 7-5. Isn't that what Texas A&M does every year? Anyway, Texas will win a conference championship once every 30 years like Tennessee, but nothing more.
Ouch.
Why are Georgia fans so angry at Oklahoma and Texas?
They just angry because they're not picked number 1. And
they sound threatened to me.
That did sound like a threat, didn't it?
It sounds threatened. They sound like Texas will win a conference championship once every 30 years like Tennessee is stretching.
It's stretching.
Stretching. To back
who's the bigger threat, though? Who's the bigger threat here, Texas or Oklahoma?
Clearly Texas.
Clearly.
But, I mean, to back you up, though, Craig, I do think that CDC and Sark have something going. This is not a Tennessee debacle. I don't think we're about to go on a Derek Dooley, Senator race, champions for life, brick by brick, money in a McDonald's bag, Jeremy Pruitt run through 3 coaches in Austin. They've had their run of bad guys, but I think Sark is going to actually get something done.
What about Oklahoma? I think Arkansas is a good comparison. Big 10 comparison. I've seen Nebraska when they left the Big.
They won 9 games though.
Nobody wants to be Nebraska. The team that
wants to be Arkansas.
The team that once was. Yeah, but I think Arkansas is kind of a bad comparison because Oklahoma has so much tradition. I mean, you're talking about a top 10 program all time.
Saying the Hogs don't have any tradition is that
Not to that level. Not to that level.
What tradition do they have?
Come on now.
Hogs?
But it's not Oklahoma.
They play in Little Rock?
Crazy. That's crazy. That's not a good comp. I don't think it's a good comp. They're making that comparison because they're trying to downgrade Oklahoma, not because they're trying to pull up Arkansas and saying that Arkansas is good. They're saying that Oklahoma is now going to slide back to
I never said
perennially 6 and 6.
I said Oklahoma was going to be good. I just wanted to know why you had so much hate in your heart for our four friends in Arkansas.
I
would have laughed a lot harder though if he did say Texas A&M being 7 and 5 because literally that's what they've been.
Oh,
yeah, that would have made more sense. It would have made more sense. And on paper, I guess does Texas A&M have more history than Arkansas? That's a good debate for us.
Ooh, yeah.
No, so hang on. All right, you ready? You want the answer since you asked the question? They're the same. They're non-factors. They're just middle of the road.
Also rans, if you will.
Also rans, coulda beens, woulda, shoulda, couldas.
Is also ran like an old person's phrase?
I think so.
I think it was, but what was that word you used with Andrew?
I might even give it to you as an old person, northerner. I'm not allowed to say that other word. Phrase.
Wow.
That hurts my heart.
For both of you. For both of you.
Your friends.
Listen, this is why Tri-State takes care of us, is because Casey and I get free visits because we're a little bit older. We need a little help moving, making sure we're stretched out.
Casey, how long have you lived in the South?
27 years.
So do you claim it now?
No, because I curse too much.
Okay,
that'll
make its way around at some point.
But
all right,
anyway, yeah.
Give us the Vols.
The Vols. This is a good one too, and kind of appropriate for where we are today with that guy being named quarterback. Our friend Marcus loves Vols. I mean that doesn't leave any room for creativity.
He's got a little hard head too.
Yeah, he says the NCAA is an effing joke. Of course, talking about Michigan just got a slap on the wrist. Complete BS. That just tells everyone else, cheat all you want. There will be no real punishment if you're caught. 100% BS. Great of them to announce this just a couple of days before the number one running back in the country decides whether to go to Michigan or Tennessee. Just in time, huh? Don't get me wrong. If Hyder doesn't 100% want to be here, then we don't need him. He's not a take, I think, that in other words, right?
That's it. Yeah.
Just suspicious timing, though, to take over a year to handle the situation, which was a no-brainer from day one. But they make sure to release those details a couple days before the number one running back announces his decision, repeating himself again. That just happens to be 50-50 by all accounts between UT and the cheating as garbage Wolverines. The NCAA is a damn joke. I hope we are doing whatever we want in recruiting, etc. There sure isn't any reason to stick to the arbitrary rules. FBS is going to be like NASCAR. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Disgusting. I hope the SEC leaves the NCAA and does our own thing. And I like that a lot because, the holy rolling SEC has never cheated before, ever. There's been no McDonald's bags in Knoxville.
This thing coming from Tennessee is so rich, isn't it?
Aren't they still paying off their fines from the NCAA and Jeremy Pruitt for having to fine? No, hang on. Tennessee had an investigation on their own coach. Had to pay the NCAA just so they could fire Pruitt.
We used the Tennessee fines as a comp for this mission for everybody to kind of test how severe this Michigan punishment was. Like they were the watermark.
Yeah. So
I'm disappointed in Casey they didn't use the real words that he used. Effing and BS.
No, he read it. He read it verbatim. That's exactly how.
I know he did. I know, but being a northerner, we have hard habits sometimes, and sometimes
we take some artistic license.
Yeah, but at times. Casey had integrity to read it as it was written by Marcus Loves Vols.
You don't go into a 3-star Michelin restaurant and say, "Hey, can you sub out the broccoli rabe for some asparagus?" I mean, you can't. That's what this is here.
What is broccoli rabe?
It's Rob's nickname.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny is I got told 2 weeks ago that I look like asparagus. So the fact that you used broccoli Rob and asparagus as a swap is kind of hilarious.
What was happening that they called you asparagus?
It was reported to me third party. It was brought to me that said, "Hey, this person over here who's not to be named said that you look like asparagus," and I think it's just because I'm long and kind of lanky, tall.
The opposite of the way Hugh Freeze describes the Auburn.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's
exactly
been called worse.
Right.
Those were two great posts, so I just
listen,
I'd share them
Casey.
with the SEC guys,
we're gonna have some heat next week because we have real football. So just be ready to bring us as the SEC looks at the rest of the week 0 slate. It'll be interesting to see how people are ramping up, and then after that, it's full go, and we're going to be right into the thick of it. Let's find our rabbit's foot or 4-leaf clover or whatever we need to not have a weekend of upsets, because if we bring Casey on here after multiple upsets of the SEC in week 1, specifically the one in the fake Death Valley, I'm not really sure how that's going to play out. So
what about the one in Waco?
Well, that one's coming first, so we might yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna
also,
be
everybody
in the Akron zip boards, by the way, just FYI.
Be on the lookout. Be on the lookout. Yes. Be on the lookout for another edition coming from SEC Sunday night. We'll actually have a Friday morning, likely, preview segment that will be coming out. So once the season gets going, we're excited about that. Let me say again, thank you to our friend Casey Cregan as always. Shout out to the Message Board Genius podcast. Incredible stuff from those guys. Go over there and listen to it on your drive or your workout or whatever you got going on this week. Thanks again to Andrew McCleary from Last Word on College Football, and of course for my good and dear friend Craig McMichael. I'm Rob Williams, and Craig's waving at me. Take us out of here, my friend.
Let's not forget David Soderquist from High Top Sports. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's SEC Sunday night live on the Chief Sports Net. We'll see you next week.